let's try and cater to the students who hopefully they didn't, but they might have maybe felt like they couldn't really follow along with all of our talk of all these crazy big goals we've had, and
Sure.
like deciding which ones out of the hundreds of goals we have. Because I know this is a classic problem that I think a lot of my friends back at school had, where they tell me like, there's like, I don't know what I care about. I don't know what's the thing I want to do, which I think for both of us, we can't really empathize, to be honest, right?
Yeah, it's
like,
hard.
yeah, like I have so many things I want to do. Like, how can you not have things you want to do?
Yeah.
I have to like cut things out. And I think we agree that's like the better state to be in anyway.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a few people in like university and stuff who are similarly minded, and they've been pretty successful with things. So I think it's a good mindset to have. But bring it back to these other students. If you're a student and you just have no idea what you care about, maybe nothing is particularly interesting, which I find that hard to believe. But sometimes my students tell me that. They're like, I don't find anything interesting. What? But let's
I was like that in high school, so I somewhat can empathize.
Okay, yeah.
Particularly, I didn't have any goals when I was in
So
high
what
school.
do you think? What are some questions or things they could think about to help like direct them towards some goals to think about?
Yeah, no, it's a very fair question, I think, and when I was in high school, I can definitely empathize that I certainly didn't have goals like I do now, and I think in hindsight, it's a lot easier in hindsight to look back and realize, I think, what the blind spots were and what the weaknesses were for why I was thinking that way, and I think a big part of that was not understanding what my values were. I think, on a fundamental level, the way to answer or to get closer to the answer of what your goals are should be thinking first and foremost about what are your values in life. Like what matters to you? Like, do you care about animals? Do you care about education? Do you care about healthcare?
Yeah. Family's a classic one.
Yeah, family, And when you think about those kinds of different values that you have, then I think it gets a little bit easier into then thinking about, okay, what's the kind of career that I want that could, accommodate for all those different values that I have. And, it's like, for example, if you have family in there, if you have education in there, and that's about it, or then maybe you could be a teacher. Simple as that, although maybe it doesn't, give you the best hours to spend time with your family, unfortunately. So maybe you want to be a tutor instead.
Yeah.
But that's like one way to simplistically just think about like getting closer towards maybe what a goal for you could look like. Yeah. I think the other way is going back to that framework that I said, that goal setting framework of thinking about the different roles that you have in life. So don't think about your values, think about your roles. Like, what are you? Are you a son? Are you a daughter? Are you a brother? Are you a sister? Those are all roles.
Yeah.
And, you can start from there. It's okay. Like, you can start from very simple roles, even like being a good son.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Like, what are things that you would want to do that can serve your mum and dad and your family and your wider family? Is it visiting your relatives overseas once every few years? That could be a milestone and a goal for yourself. Could it be washing the dishes every day for your parents, which is what I do?
Yeah.
That's a milestone. Yeah. And I think it's starting with the simple things, the things that are definitely observable, like, what are your roles? I think that's a very simple place to start. And then I think generally from there, it builds you more confidence to go and go, oh yeah, wait, hang on a second. Like, I'm also a student at school. That's like, I'm also an SRC rep. I'm also, maybe an athlete in the swimming carnival, stuff like that. Those are all different roles. And I think on that basis, you can actually start to think about, well, what are these goals that I want for these different roles that I have?
Yeah.
And that's one other way to decompose it.
Yeah.
Finally, I would also say, as it relates to goals, beyond thinking about smart goals, like understanding, how to, like what goals should look like, which is, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. It's also, I think, another way to think about it is asking your friends and family, and maybe if you had a mentor, maybe, or even your teachers. I think they're great resources to be asking, because sometimes, it's possible you may not know yourself the best.
Yeah.
It may actually be the case that your mum or dad know you better, and asking them is also wise seeking counsel from others
Mm.
to give their perspective of what they think is, maybe the right path for you. And, many times for me, in my, for example, for me, like I actually thought I was going to be an accountant for the rest of my life when I started as a cadet at Deloitte back in 2015 in first year. And, that's what I thought I was going to do. But it was actually sitting down and speaking with my mentor in third year university in 2017 that he actually convinced me, well, not so much convinced me, he made me rethink, like, is accounting actually the thing that I wanted to do?
Yeah.
And instead say, well, Michael, I actually think you've got this knack for picking stocks because you're already doing it personally with your own personal portfolio.
Yeah.
And so maybe you can make this a career. And, it was by chance that, he offered me an internship job and I took it. And yeah, it's often people like that who have to point it out to you that maybe this is not the right path for you of being an accountant, but actually being perhaps a fund manager.
Yeah.
And so, don't underestimate the power of, just your friends and family and the observations they may have on you and maybe the opinions they have on you. Obviously, don't just do whatever they tell you to do, but think about it and ask yourself whether they're right or wrong.
Yeah. That's
and ask a great deal of people. Don't ask one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of interest, in terms of your jump from like thinking about accounting as your career path versus investing, would you say it was more so accounting you still enjoyed, but you enjoyed investing even more, or did you feel like accounting you weren't sold on yet?
The former. So I enjoyed accounting. Like I love reading financials of companies, and it's not often you'll meet people who say that, who go, oh, I want to know the cash flow of this business. I want to know the balance sheet of this business. It takes a special kind of person. But for me, I love that kind of stuff. And I expressed that back in the day when I used to teach pass for university students for accounting 1B at UNSW. But yeah, it actually was the case that I enjoyed investing even more because I realized, like, what was I actually doing in like my regular routine? Like, I was one of those weird guys who wasn't so much watching Netflix and chilling, but instead was spending in crazy amounts of time reading the AFR, like the Australian Financial Review, reading the Sydney Morning Herald on the business section, and just like trying to understand like what's happening in the world, what companies are benefiting, what companies are falling, and then trying to make money off that. So and then beyond that, right, I was actually risking my own money and buying stocks. And trying to build my own investment process, and I found that was way more stimulating for me than it was for accounting. But see, I've been very blessed because in investing, I still get opportunities to actually read financials of companies.
Yeah, I see.
As part of my research before I buy those companies. And so, I found for me, it hasn't really been like a 180 pivot in any means. It was really just probably like a natural extension towards another thing, which also still needs accounting. So I've been very thankful that I had a mentor who actually suggested the idea to me. I never would have considered it. It's like if you told me back when I was 20 years old that I was going to be working in a hedge fund. A lot of kids don't think that when they're 20, or think that they can be able to manage a large amount of money for clients. So because that's a great deal of responsibility. But I think I learned from my mentor that it's not also a great deal of responsibility, but you can also find joy in the fact that it's a great privilege to be able to do that for people.
I see.
Yeah. And so that was a bit of a long-winded answer, but the answer is the former.
That was a really good insight, right? Because it's like it's the idea that like the thing that is absolutely perfect for you probably will not realize it immediately, but as long as you're sort of doing something that is fulfilling
in
and
the
you're
right
learning,
direction,
and you're moving towards it, and you're
on the yellow brick road. As long as you're on that yellow brick road, you're gonna move around a bit. But if you're on the road, you should be fine.
I think even just to bring up a quick example from my end, because you mentioned the feeling like you're on the right path on the road, right? I think that was a good thing that I think it took me a while to realize. Where I think going back a few years before I decided to start Atlas with Wayne, and I was working at other places where it wasn't really working out. I didn't realize it immediately, but I sort of had that feeling where I was like, I think in the few months before I left that place, it was like the first time where I couldn't see a future. Where before I was like, oh yeah, so next year I'll be working on this, and the year after that I'll try and get this done.
Yeah.
And then it was like the first time I was like, oh, I don't see a pathway where I can improve what the students are receiving or create any positive change. I was like, oh, it feels kind of weird. And I was still stuck in that sort of limbo until I guess it comes back to the importance of getting the right advice from people around you.
Yeah.
Where I talked to one of my friends, and he was very objective about it, which I really appreciate. Where he basically was just like, what the hell have you done with your life in the last year?
Yeah.
Because like it took him sort of asking, like getting me to list it out when I realized like how much I'd been hindered by not getting the right opportunities.
Yeah.
And that I almost literally just wasted a year. I'm not really doing anything that.
And you're not proud of it. I think that's the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. It's like, I think when you realize, oh, it's like, what have I actually spent
Exactly.
1 year on?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't want to talk about it. Like, yeah, that's when you kind of know something's not working.
Yeah. So I think that example hopefully covers a lot of the ideas we discussed today, where it's just having some sort of mentor figure or just people to give that objective advice / criticism.
Yeah. It requires
really
humility, right? Like to recognize that, you don't know everything. And appreciating that your friends and family may know you better actually. And and all it may take is their opinion to, really alter the trajectory of where you go.
Yeah.
But having the humility to be able to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's I think for me, I was really lucky because I think I'm pretty good at taking criticism anyway. But I think if it's a more ordinary person, sometimes maybe they can get given good advice, but they're just not ready to receive it. Luckily, in that moment, because of those few months before, I was still already just like sort of in limbo.
Yeah.
When I asked that guy, I was just like, "Yo, I just like don't know what to do. I'm just gonna tell you like my situation so far." I sort of laid it out, and that's when he was like, "Yeah, this is fucked. You should probably move on." But yeah,
sometimes you just need an honest friend.
Yeah.
And no bullcrap, right? Just no sugarcoating. Just say it for what it is, right? Yeah. Those can be good friends.
Really appreciate it. But yeah, anyway, we talked a lot of things today.
Yeah, we did. So, can I just say a few closing remarks?
Oh, yeah,
before
absolutely.
I want to say that I absolutely respect what you and Wayne have done and the rest of your team, like at Atlas. And, I certainly wish that, more people can know about you guys. And I'm really appreciative of you guys inviting me on. Really appreciate, in future, if people want to hear more from me, feel free to, leave a comment or message Anthony or Wayne. I'm always happy to do talks like this. And there's always lots of other things I'd love to share. In future. So yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. Really appreciative from my end as well. And I'll give your blog a quick shout out. So I think if you want to read more about like Michael's thoughts about these sorts of things in terms of goal setting, a post that I read from Michael's blog. So The Ordinary Investor, that's what it's called.
The Ordinary
So you look
Investor.
it up. We'll post the link in the description anyway.
Yeah.
But there was a post on I think, resolutions and systems.
Yes.
I think that was a really illuminating post. So if anyone wants to sort of read more about his thoughts on that in sort of like word form, I highly encourage that.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of it was inspired, and I'll give credit to, James Clear, the guy who wrote Atomic Habits. And I think you read the book too.
Yes.
So yeah, great book. I would recommend people to read. But yeah, also check out my blog. I would love that. Not just for the traffic, but also because I think there's like a lot of genuine 2 cents I love to say about, personal development and time management and self-discipline. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, we'll start to wrap up now. So thanks everyone for listening in today. And yeah, we'll wrap it up here. So
Thanks, guys.
see you guys.